There comes a moment in a woman's life when she realizes she's been too available for someone who has not earned that access. She answers every call. She replies to every message. She rearranges her schedule, her priorities, sometimes even her standards, all in the name of being understanders, all in the name of being understanding. And somewhere along the way, she mistakes constant availability for love. But here's the truth. When you are always available, you become convenient, and convenience does not command respect. Constant availability feels generous at first. It feels loving. It feels supportive. You answer every call, even when you're tired. You reply to every message within seconds. You adjust your plans, move your schedule around, and make space, no matter what. You tell yourself this is what good partners do. This is how you show interest. This is how you prove you care. But slowly, without even realizing it, something shifts. The more available you become, the less intentional he becomes. The more access you give, the less effort he feels required to make. When someone knows they can reach you anytime with no resistance, no boundaries, and no structure, they stop planning for you. They stop preparing for you. They stop valuing the time they spend with you because it no longer feels chosen, it feels assumed. And assumed access creates comfort, not respect. There is a difference between being appreciated and being expected. Appreciation comes with gratitude and effort. Expectation comes with routine and minimal investment. Human nature responds to value, and value is often tied to effort. Think about anything in life that required patience, discipline, or waiting. You naturally treat it with more care. But when something is always within arm's reach, always ready, always accommodating, it becomes part of the background. Not because it lacks worth, but because its presence feels guaranteed. And when your presence feels guaranteed, your absence carries no weight. Constant availability also sends a quiet message: my time is less important than yours. Even if you never say those words, your actions communicate them. When you drop everything the moment he calls, you teach him that your world revolves around his convenience. When you consistently prioritize him over your own commitments, you show him that he does not need to compete with your goals, your hobbies, your friends, or your rest. Over time, that imbalance erodes attraction and respect, not because he consciously decides to disrespect you, but because he subconsciously stops seeing you as someone with equal weight. Effort is born in space. Planning is born in uncertainty. Respect is born when someone realizes access is a privilege, not a right. When a man has to think, let me check if she's free, instead of assuming you will be, he approaches you differently. He considers your schedule. He values the opportunity to see you. He understands that your time is not automatic, it is chosen. That small psychological shift changes everything. This does not mean playing games. It does not mean ignoring messages to create drama. It means genuinely having a life that does not pause for someone who has not yet earned that level of priority. It means saying calmly and confidently, I'm busy, without guilt. It means keeping your plans. It means allowing him to meet you halfway instead of carrying the entire connection on your shoulders. When you stop being constantly available, something powerful happens. You regain your time. You regain your emotional balance. You start living instead of waiting. And in that independence, your energy becomes different. It becomes grounded, attractive, respected. Because respect is not demanded through words. It is established through standards. And when your time has standards, your presence has value. Scarcity creates value because it introduces intention into the equation. When something is always available, always accessible, always guaranteed, it becomes ordinary. But when access requires thought, planning, and effort, it becomes meaningful. People naturally lean toward what feels earned, not because they enjoy difficulty, but because effort creates emotional investment. The more someone has to consider, prepare, and risk losing something, the more seriously they take it. Think about how differently we treat things that are limited. Time off from work feels precious because it is not endless. Opportunities feel significant because they may not come twice. Even moments with certain people feel deeper when we know they are rare. Scarcity shifts the mind from assumption to appreciation. It forces presence. It awakens awareness. It makes someone think, I don't want to lose this. In relationships, the same principle quietly operates. When your time, energy, and attention are constantly available, they become expected. But when your presence requires coordination, when someone has to ask in advance, respect your schedule, and show consistency, your value rises not because you are playing hard to get, but because you are no longer easy to overlook. Effort becomes necessary, intention becomes visible. People protect what they fear losing. If there is no possibility of loss, there is no urgency. If there is no urgency, if someone believes you will always be there regardless of how they behave, their motivation weakens. But when they understand that access to you depends on respect, consistency, and genuine effort, they rise differently. They communicate better, they plan ahead. They think before they act. Scarcity creates awareness, and awareness strengthens appreciation. This does not mean withdrawing love or becoming cold. It means recognizing that unlimited access often leads to unconscious neglect. When you are constantly adjusting to fit into someone else's life, you unintentionally reduce your perceived worth. But when you have your own rhythm, your own priorities, and your own boundaries, your presence becomes something to be earned rather than assumed. That shift changes how you are treated. Planning is powerful because it signals importance. When someone plans for you, they allocate time, thought, and intention. They rearrange parts of their world to include you. That action alone reflects value. But if you are always flexible, always free at the last minute, always ready, there is no need for planning. And without planning, there is minimal investment. Without investment, there is little attachment. The possibility of loss also sharpens behavior. When someone senses that you will not tolerate inconsistency, disrespect, or neglect, they become more mindful, not out of fear, but out of desire to keep what matters. Scarcity introduces accountability. It communicates that your presence is conditional upon mutual respect. That understanding creates balance. True value is not created by chasing attention. True value it is created by standing firm in your own worth. When your life is full with goals, passions, friendships, and commitments, you are not withholding yourself. You are simply not abandoning yourself. And in doing so, you become someone whose time is meaningful. Scarcity is not about manipulation. It is about alignment. It is about recognizing that constant availability can dilute appreciation while thoughtful access enhances it. When people must choose you intentionally, they value you differently. When they know you are not guaranteed, they show up with greater care. Because at its core, value increases when effort is required and loss is possible. And when your presence carries both, respect naturally follows your time, quietly teaches people how to treat you. Long before you speak about your standards, your schedule speaks for you. The way you protect your hours, the way you respond to interruptions, the way you allow or don't allow last-minute changes all communicate one clear message. This is how valuable I believe I am. When you treat your time as important, others learn to treat it the same way. But when you treat it as flexible, disposable, and secondary to everyone else's needs, the world follows your lead. Time is the one resource you can never replenish. Money can return. Opportunities can reappear. Even relationships can be rebuilt. But an hour wasted is gone forever. When you understand that deeply, you stop giving your time away casually. You begin to ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? Does this align with my priorities? Does this respect my schedule? And that internal shift transforms how people experience you. If you constantly reschedule your commitments to accommodate someone who plans poorly, you silently reward their lack of structure. If you answer every call, regardless of what you're doing, you signal that your focus can be interrupted at any moment. If you tolerate lateness, cancellations, and inconsistency without consequence, you normalize it. Not because you approve of it, but because you accept it. And acceptance sets the tone. Standards are not declared loudly, they are demonstrated consistently. When you say calmly, I'm not available at that time, without over-explaining, you establish boundaries. When you keep your plans instead of canceling at the last minute, you communicate reliability. When you expect punctuality and follow through on your own commitments, you create mutual accountability. Over time, people adjust. They either rise to match your standard or drift away from it. Treating your time as important does not mean becoming rigid or unkind. It means recognizing that your life has value beyond someone else's convenience. It means understanding that respect is reciprocal. When someone knows they must plan in advance to see you, they begin to think ahead. When they understand you will not always be free at a moment's notice, they become intentional. Your boundaries inspire their structure. There is also a powerful internal benefit. When you guard your time, you strengthen your self-worth. You prove to yourself that your goals, rest, growth, and peace matter. You stop living reactively and start living deliberately. Instead of waiting to see who calls or what happens, you design your days. That sense of control creates confidence, and confidence changes the way you speak, move, and engage. People are observant. They notice when someone values themselves. They sense when a person's schedule reflects ambition and see, I respect, and they respond accordingly. A person who is busy building, learning, resting with intention, and maintaining balance commands a different level of regard than someone who is perpetually waiting. Availability without purpose feels passive. Structured time feels powerful. When you honor your own time, you give others a blueprint. You show them how to interact with you. You teach them what is acceptable and what is not. And once that pattern is established, it becomes the culture of your relationships. Ultimately, your time is a mirror of your priorities. Ultimately, if you treat it casually, others will too. But when you treat it as sacred, planned, and purposeful, people adjust their behavior to meet that reality because the standard you live by becomes the standard you receive. Self-respect is often misunderstood in relationships. The moment someone decides to step back, to slow down their responses, to stop overextending themselves, it is sometimes labeled as playing games. But there is a profound difference between manipulation and protection. Manipulation is about controlling someone else's behavior. Protection is about honoring your own boundaries. Pulling back is not about making someone chase you. It is about refusing to chase someone who is not meeting you halfway. When you have been giving more than you are receiving, constantly initiating, constantly adjusting, constantly excusing inconsistence, there comes a point where continuing that pattern becomes self-betrayal. Stepping back in that moment is not strategy. It is self-preservation. It is saying without drama or hostility, I deserve balance. And balance is not created through overgiving. It is created through mutual effort. Self-respect begins internally. It is the quiet understanding that your emotions matter, your energy matters, your peace matters. If staying constantly available leaves you anxious, overthinking, or feeling undervalued, then pulling back is not a tactic. It is a correction. It is recalibrating the dynamic so that you are no longer abandoning yourself to maintain connection. True manipulation involves pretending. It involves calculated behavior designed to trigger insecurity or force a reaction. Self-respect involves honesty. You are not ignoring someone to create panic. You are simply no longer prioritizing them above your own well-being. You are not withholding affection to punish. You are offering affection in proportion to what is reciprocated. That is not a game. That is emotional maturity. Boundaries are not walls meant to push people away. They are guidelines that show people how to treat you. When you communicate through action that inconsistency will not receive unlimited access, you are not being cruel. You are establishing standards. A healthy person will not feel manipulated by your boundaries. They will respect them. The only individuals who interpret boundaries as games are those who benefited from you having none. Emotional well-being requires space. It requires moments where you are not obsessing over texts, not rearranging your schedule at the last second, not questioning your worth based on someone's level of attention. Pulling back creates that space. It allows you to regain clarity. It reminds you that your identity is not tied to someone else's validation. And in that clarity, you become grounded again. There is strength in restraint, strength in choosing silence over explanation. Strength in allowing someone to meet you instead of dragging them toward why. When you stop over-functioning in a connection, you give the other person the opportunity to show who they truly are. If they step up, the relationship grows in balance. If they step back, you gain valuable information. Either outcome protects you from investing blindly. Self-respect also means accepting that not everyone will rise to your standards, and that is okay. The goal is not to make someone change. The goal is to remain aligned with your values. When you act from self-respect, you are not reacting emotionally. You are responding intentionally. You are choosing peace over panic, dignity over desperation. Pulling back, when done from a place of self-awareness, is not about control. It is about alignment. It is about ensuring that your effort matches the effort given. It is about protecting your heart without closing it. And when your actions are rooted in protecting your boundaries rather than provoking reactions, that is not a game. That is growth. The right man will rise when he sees a woman who knows her worth, not because she demands it loudly, not because she threatens to leave, and not because she plays emotional games, but because her standards are clear and consistent. A mature man does not feel challenged by boundaries. He feels invited to step up. He understands that standards are not obstacles. They are indicators of self-respect. And a man who respects himself will naturally respect a woman who respects herself. When you begin valuing your time, protecting your energy, and refusing to overextend yourself, you create a new dynamic. The immature man may feel uncomfortable. He may complain that you have changed. He may test your limits to see if your standards are temporary, but the mature man responds differently. He adjusts, he plans ahead, he communicates clearly. He matches your effort without being asked, not because he is forced to, but because he recognizes quality and does not want to lose it. A man who is serious about you will not be intimidated by your independence. He will be inspired by it. He will not interpret your boundaries as rejection. He will see them as proof that you have structure, discipline, and self-awareness. Instead of pulling away when you stop being constantly available, he will lean in with intention. He will understand that access to you is a privilege, not an entitlement. Standards function as a filter. They separate those who are curious from those who are committed. When you lower your expectations to keep someone comfortable, you delay clarity. But when you hold your standards firmly and calmly, clarity arrives quickly. The wrong man will fall away because he cannot operate in a space where effort is required. He thrives on convenience, not commitment. And when convenience disappears, so does he. That departure is not a loss, it is protection. Every person who leaves because you refuse to shrink yourself makes space for someone who can stand beside you fully. Too often, people fear setting standards because they are afraid of losing someone. But losing someone who refuses to rise is not failure. It is alignment. It saves you from investing years into a dynamic that was never balanced to begin with. A mature man appreciates growth. He respects accountability. When you expect consistency, he becomes consistent. When you expect communication, he communicates. When you demonstrate loyalty to yourself, he understands that loyalty to you must be earned and maintained. He does not resent the effort. He takes pride in it. Rising to your level becomes a choice he makes willingly. There is confidence in knowing that you do not need to convince someone to treat you well. The right man will not require endless reminders of your value. He will observe your standards and decide whether he is capable of meeting them. And if he is, he will step forward with clarity. If he is not, he will step back. Both outcomes serve you because the goal is not to be chosen by everyone. The goal is to be valued by the right one. And when you stop lowering your standards to keep the wrong person comfortable, you allow the right person to recognize you clearly. The man who belongs in your life will not be pushed away by your strength. He will rise to meet it. And anyone who falls away was never meant to stand beside you in the first place. In the end, the message is clear. Your time is your most valuable asset, and how you choose to spend it sets the tone for how others treat you. When you stop being constantly available, you're not playing games. You're showing self-respect, confidence, and emotional strength. A mature man will notice, adjust, and meet you at your level, while the wrong one will fall away. This isn't about manipulation. It's about creating boundaries that honor your worth and protect your peace. By valuing your own time, you naturally attract respect, attention, and deeper connection. So today, ask yourself, are you giving your time freely to those who truly deserve it, or are you letting it slip away for the sake of temporary approval? How will you start honoring your time from this moment onward?